Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Slayer class as well as their skills because there is a Dengeki article which pretty much covers everything you need to know about the Slayer. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the very first thing I want to get out of the way is, yes, this is going to be my new drip for the Slayer class specifically because everyone has been nagging me about a type 1 character, so I was like, alright fine, I'll make a type 1 character. And actually yesterday I watched a new anime called Hell's Paradise and I really love the main character Gabimaru, and this is pretty much my attempt of making Gabimaru in NGS. However, he will be using a gunblade, and if I can find like a proper shinobi type of outfit, I'm definitely gonna switch to that. But nevertheless, here it is, type 1 character. But with that being said, let's jump into the Dengeki article. So I will post a link for this article in the description below so that you can read it for yourselves. You will need to use a Google Translator or some sort of translator program because it will be all in Japanese. So as we can see here, there is a lot to talk about and a lot of stuff, blah 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 blah. So I'm just going to be giving you the TLDR, or at least the main points of interest. So the first thing I actually want to talk about is their skill tree. So as we see here, there are only 3 skills that actually work for subclass, because I know a lot of people, myself included, are planning to probably stick with their main class but are considering using Slayer as a subclass. And I think it's actually a really good idea because the first skill is critical hit rate up. It simply just increases our critical rate. We can put 15 points in this. The second one is the one that we were a little bit confused because it looked like a monster symbol with a critical symbol on it, but what it actually means is Gallant Attack Critical Up. Increases critical rate when attacking boss enemies. So that's even better because this is going to stack on top of our regular critical up, so even more critical chance. So absolutely amazing, and we can put 10 points into this. Then the last skill we can use as a subclass is going to be critical hit PP gain. PP is recovered with a certain probability when a critical hit occurs. So this basically gives us a chance to recover a certain amount of photon power whenever we hit a critical strike. So if you're a braver main like myself, you know that Lotus Lightning hits multiple times extremely quickly. And on top of that, when we're farming in combat zones, we spam a lot of Iris Gale, which is a giant AoE which hits multiple targets. So it's going to be very helpful to have critical hit PP gain because you're hitting so many targets, you're hitting them extremely quickly. So there's a very high chance that we're going to be able to recover a lot of photon power as we're killing all these enemies. So having Slayer as a subclass for the braver class specifically, I think is going to be a match made in heaven. So I'm definitely going to be testing it out. I don't know if it's going to be better than having 4 subclass, because 4 subclass, you know, you have the PP eradication. Whenever you kill an enemy, that's a guaranteed amount of photon power, while this critical hit PP gain is RNG based, and there's a chance that you might not get your photon power back. So we will definitely need to test this when the Slayer comes on the live servers. Now, other than these 3 skills, all of the other skills listed below are only for Slayer class or Gunblade only. So more or less, you'll only be using any of the skills below if you are maining a Slayer. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Slayer's unique stay arts and move arts. So as we know, the Slayer is a very special class in the sense that they've got a ranged weapon and a melee weapon. So the way that they've decided to make it work is if you stand still and cast a PA, it's going to be in its ranged form. However, when you move and cast a photon art, it's going to be in its melee form. And the reason for this is because the melee form in most cases is a gap closer slash AoE, while the range attack slash stay arts tend to be more single target. So basically, you're just going to be juggling between your range form as well as your melee form depending on the situation, and it seems to be a lot more simple than the Luster. So for those who are hoping that we were going to get Luster gameplay in NGS, unfortunately that is not the case. It's going to feel a lot more watered down, a lot more simplified. However, if you've never played the Luster or never played the base game, you're going to love this class. This class is going to feel very fluid, exactly the same how the Braver feels in the level of fluidity and just the motion, and everything is just going to feel buttery smooth. However, as we know, the Gunblade only has 4 different photon arts, as we can see in game already. We've got Shifting Spica, Flowing Cyrus, Reaping Regulus, as well as Waving Regal, while the main damage Photon arts that we're going to be casting is going to be Shifting Spica as well as Flowing Cyrus. Reaping Regulus as well as Waving Regale are going to be more situational Photon arts, and the main source of our damage is going to be coming out for these two Photon arts. Most likely Flowing Cyrus is probably going to be the main ability that a lot of us are going to be spamming, simply because it does have more AoE. However, remember, even though it says here we only have 4 Photon arts, technically we have 8, because if you input a directional while casting this Photon art, you actually do a variation of this Photon art. So for example, Flowing Cyrus, as you can see over here, unleashes repeated forward slashes. Doing this repeatedly will charge it into a powerful attack. However, inputting a direction will instead cause you to attack nearby enemies while moving. So basically, if you want to focus on one target, you're just going to be spamming Flowing Cyrus. However, if there's a lot of enemies around you, then you're going to be inputting a direction. So for example, you're going to be holding forward or left or right or whatever, and then you'll cast an AoE variation of Flowing Cyrus, so you hit multiple targets. Now with Shifting Spica, it works the exact same way. However, if you input a direction, it becomes a gap closer. So over here, I have increased the text in order to see the pictures a little bit more clearly, but as we can see here, Shifting Spica. So this is going to be the regular attack, so no directional input. You simply slash the enemy and then you kind of shotgun them in the face. However, if you have a directional input, you're going to dash towards the enemy, so you're going to do a gap closer and then you're going to shotgun them in the face. So essentially the state arts and the move arts are going to still feel the same. It's just situational and knowing that, oh, certain abilities just give you that extra utility which allow you to be extremely mobile. Now let's look at Flowing Cyrus. So if you don't have any directional input, you slash your enemies in front of you, and then on your second charge of the PA, you do a Silver Leaf Storm type of attack, and then finally you do a very powerful attack at the end. So basically think of Braver on how we have 3 levels of charges. Each time you cast the same Photon art, it gets stronger and stronger. It's going to work the same way with the Slayer. However, if you have a directional input, it changes the Photon art. As you can see, Flowing Cyrus now becomes like a 360 attack into another 360 attack. Move arts is a wide range attack that is easy to use against large numbers of enemies. So essentially it kind of transforms your Photon art from Silver Leaf Storm to Iris Gale for all of my Braver mains out there. So it's one Photon art, however it has 2 separate modes. If you're a single target, you don't put any directional inputs. If you want to hit multiple targets, then you do use a directional input, and boom, it changes how it works. Now in the article they cover all of the other Photon arts as well. However, I'm not going to be covering them because the main 2 Photon arts that most of us are going to be spamming is going to be Shifting Spica as well as Flowing Cyrus. I think at the very beginning, a lot of us are going to open with Shifting Spica, and then we're just going to be spamming a ton of Flowing Cyrus until we're out of Photon power, and then we're going to actually use our Gunblade finisher. Now for those who are a little bit confused on what on earth is a Gunblade finisher, think of it as Brave Combat for the katana. It's essentially the same thing, however there is a condition to it, and that is actually, you see this little bar above our PA bar? You actually need to fill up this bar, and then once it's fully filled up, you can activate it and you gain a ton of critical hit chance, a ton of damage, and you just become very, very strong. So the entire premise of the Gunblade is to always be attacking an enemy. You don't want any downtime, because the moment you stop attacking enemies, this bar is going to slowly decrease. So you need to constantly be attacking, always be on the offensive and constantly dodging and countering in order to fill up this bar as fast as possible so that you can activate your overdrive mode in order to deal even more damage. And when you're in your overdrive mode, this bar over here will slowly start decreasing, and before it hits 0, if you use the overdrive skill again, your character will do a powerful slash at the very end, exactly the same way as how Braver Combat works. When you activate it, you get all of these free stats, you deal tons of damage, and then before the buff runs out, you use it again and you get a massive finisher and deal tons of damage. So essentially the Slayer class just took what was great about the Braver, implemented that, as well as implemented their own Gunblade system or luster systems in, and made a super mobile, fast-paced class which is based off critical hits as well as critical damage. So I think that a lot of people are going to really enjoy the Slayer class because it doesn't seem too complicated to learn. There are some mechanics and there will be a lot of room to min-max. However, for the average player, if you just want to pick up the Slayer class on Unga Bunga, you can definitely do that, because now that I've read the skills, it's essentially these 2 Photon arts, Shifting Spica, Flowing Cyrus, you just spam them for days and you will do a lot of damage and you'll feel really powerful. And just don't forget, when you fill up that gauge, that you actually go into overdrive, because that's just going to give you even more damage, make all of your Photon arts hit a lot harder, allow you to crit even more often, and it's just going to be a really fun class. It's going to feel really good, feel really smooth. However, this doesn't mean that the Slayer class is going to be the best class in the game and outshine everyone else, because the Slayer's subclass is extremely viable, just increasing your critical chance across the board and allowing you to recover Photon power upon critical hits is just going to be amazing utility for everyone across the board, because being able to hit more crits is definitely a good thing. Now let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the Slayer class? Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel, it really means a lot to me. Thank you again. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!